Oh, 5, 4, 3. And we are back at the island, you guys. And guess what, y'all? This is the guest we have been waiting for all year. We feel privileged. I know we feel privileged and honored that he took time out of his very, very busy schedule to spend time with us at the island. I refer to him as a gentle giant, meaning he is very tall in stature, yet gentle in spirit. He is also very modest. When I asked him to give us a bio, he only gave me 4 sentences, y'all. He is clearly not one to toot his own horn, yet he's got it going on. He is a native of San Antonio and is the associate professor in the Department of Emergency Medicine at Children's Hospital of San Antonio. Need I say more? Nope. I could easily drop the mic right here, but guess what? Wait. We are here to celebrate Father's Day, and our guest just happens to be the super dad of his awesome 16-year-old son, Tito. Without further ado, we are proud to introduce to our listeners, Dr. David Newby. Woo-hoo!
Welcome.
Dr. Newby in the house.
Well,
yes.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's a real honor. I really enjoy y'all's podcast, and I find it very calming, very soothing to be at your kitchen table, and it's really an honor to share it with you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Well, welcome to the island. And before we go any further, we have to give a shout out to your lovely wife, whom we love and is a friend of Kitchen Island Tea. She was our very first guest on the island in season 1. So we love you, Dr. Yolanda.
Yes, Dr. Yo.
So I think you're up, Beverly. You can go ahead and get
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, Dr. David, I'd like to call you that tonight. Dr. David, we're excited to have you here with us tonight. And I know you and I know your son. So it has a special significance in terms of Father's Day. But I have a question for you. Out of all the fields of medicine, what led you to specialize in pediatrics?
Well, I knew I wanted to do primary care even during medical school. I knew I wanted to kind of be on the front lines, and there's just was and still is a shortage of primary care compared to subspecialties. And so when it came time to apply for residency, I decided so primary care, you think in family medicine, family practice, or internal medicine, which is just adults only, or pediatrics. And I decided to apply to a combined internal medicine pediatrics program. So I would see adults and kids. In that program, lets you do, each of those residencies is 3 years. So it was a 4-year program, and I was able to, after that, qualify. I double boarded in internal medicine, which is adults, and then pediatrics. And I just, in my heart, I knew that even during residency, that it was really the kids that I enjoyed more. That was where my heart was. I mean, I felt more fulfilled. The interactions with the patients were more fulfilling. The medicine itself was more interesting to me. So it wasn't something that I discovered about myself until as I was going through the process. I was the youngest child in my family, so I didn't have a lot of, I don't know if any of you guys are youngest, but you're not really, unless you have cousins that you have to babysit. I was never around a bunch of small children. I didn't even know I liked kids until I started taking care of them as a doctor.
Wow.
So it was kind of not intentional. It was kind of a learning process. And I have no regrets. I still very much enjoy. I mean, the best part of my day, sometimes, or best part of my shift at work is having that interaction with the child and getting a smile or a giggle or something. Or sometimes you don't get it, and then you have to worry. You have to wonder what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I just can see it in the way you talked about it. and the way that I see you with your son. So I know that this is the right area for you to be in because it's in your heart. So thank
Yeah.
you.
So I know you won't toot your own horn, but we're gonna toot your horn.
Yes.
We're gonna say, because you are a super dad, and your son has grown up to be such a bright, intelligent, just mannerable, compassionate young man. And I know you and Yolanda had a lot, if not most of that to do with his rearing. So I just want to commend you on that as we enter into Father's Day. You also have a passion for children, just like our First Lady. She loves children. Lady B loves children. So speaking of pediatrics, what are the challenges of working in a children's ER and being a parent?
I think what you mean is like seeing all these emergencies and,
Yes.
and not bringing it home or not worrying about it. I mean, it's you know, it can be tough. I mean, you see things at work, and you come home and you're like, don't run with that fork. I just saw a kid that put a fork into his head, or what, not that I'm exaggerating, but you think anytime you're looking at a child playing, you should be enjoying the child playing, but there's somewhere in the back of your head, what's the worst thing that can happen right now?
Yeah.
You worry about, oh, is this going to end up? Yeah. I see the kid yesterday. I was at a restaurant and I saw a kid standing up in their high chair, and I was like, I was just ready to vault over, but you can't. I mean, first of all, you can't think that way. You have to let children be children. You just can't keep them in bubble wrap. You can't keep them in a china cabinet. So even though I see worst case scenarios, I to a certain extent, you have to leave that at work when you come home.
Okay.
So I tried not to let it be too much of a challenge being a parent and being an ER doctor. As far as thinking of worst case, I think if anything, the crossover is more in a positive way, in that because I'm a parent, I have a lot of empathy for the other parents. I mean, I see a child with what I consider to be a relatively minor wound or a minor illness, but I know the parent. I know what it is to worry. I know what it is to worry, and I empathize with the parents. You can't dismiss that concern. I mean, I would rather have parents that worry. I know what it is, and I tell them, I'm a parent too. I understand why you're worried, and I want you to know that I'm gonna do my best by your child. I'm not gonna let them go home if they shouldn't go home.
Can I do a follow-on question? Do you find that it's rewarding when you work with the children and you see them actually get well?
Absolutely. Yeah, children, and that's another thing, I said earlier how I used to treat adults as well. And the thing is, adults, we're all, our bones are brittle, and we're all we're old. We're all dying. Kids, they're only getting bigger and stronger. And kids, old people like ourselves, we're trying to just put off death or put off disability a little while longer. Kids, basically, if you get out of their way, they're going to get better. If you give them what they need, whether it's antibiotics or some IV fluids or some extra oxygen, for the most part, in a couple of days, they're going to be better. And grown-ups, if they are going to get better, it takes a lot longer. But kids, even over the course of just an hour or two, you can see the improvement. It's like the house plant you neglected on the windowsill, and you water it and it springs back to life.
Can I be a kid again?
Yeah, exactly. So that's, it is rewarding. It is rewarding to see them get better.
Wow. So David, I'd like to say that you had one son, Tito, and we all love him at the island. We love him to death. He is an awesome, respectable young man. And like Cheryl said, that is due to you and your wife. And so at the age of 3, he was formally diagnosed with autism. And so my question to you is, 2020 was a struggle for everyone on the planet, and parenting took on a whole new meaning. How did you juggle work as a doctor and being the super dad that you are?
You know, I don't think you're giving Tito enough credit. He is, I mean, we all brag on our kids, and we all think, I mean, and you know somebody who you know their kid is a brat, and you hear them bragging on them, and you know that can't all be true. But even so, he is just a great kid. He has a sweet heart and soul, and he wants to do the right thing. He doesn't always know how to do it, but he's just a great kid. And any credit goes to his mom, but he also just he was born that way. He was born as a hardworking, sweet-natured soul. So he actually did all right during the pandemic. He did homeschooling up until this spring break. And in our district, that was unusual. In our district, there was like something surprisingly early, like by Thanksgiving, there were something like 75% of kids were back in person, which we found shocking. We were not ready for that. So he stayed home.
Okay.
He stayed home until spring break. He went back finally and did virtual, and he seemed to do pretty well. Now I think we're gonna find out how well all these guys did when they're all going to college. All these kids, you know, that went through this year of the pandemic, you know, how far back they were set, both socially and you know, intellectually and with their schooling. But he seemed to do okay. He seemed to enjoy it, and he was able to pay attention to his lessons and didn't have too much trouble with it. He's 16 now, so he's old enough to he can make himself a sandwich and so on. So it was okay to, you know, if I had to be in at work and his mom wasn't going to be home for a few hours, if there's 3 or 4 hours where he was by himself, we knew he would be okay. And then we have family in town, so we could have people come and check in on him.
Okay.
But it was good for his independence, I think.
Okay.
Awesome.
I mean, he still had social outlets with his cousins and so on, I think he did all right. There was not as much juggling, and for our specialties, in particular, because COVID mainly hit older individuals, children did really well. Now my emergency room, people were scared to death to come to the emergency room because they thought they were going to catch COVID. Well, they wouldn't have caught COVID because you could fire a cannonball down the hall of our emergency room, not hit anybody. We were down, our numbers were down, 50-60%.
Wow.
All through the year. And then Yolanda, who does anesthesia, had, they were, for the first few months, they were worried they were going to need all that PPE and all the ventilators and so on. So they curtailed any kind of surgery that wasn't an emergency surgery, like a trauma or something. So she had very little work for the first couple of months of COVID. Okay. So it was almost the opposite. I mean, I was reading the paper and hearing on the radio about these New York City and Seattle and so on, where there are people, they had their emergency room, they had 18 or 20 people on ventilators, which usually when that happens, you move them upstairs to ICU right away. But they were managing these patients for days at a time in ICU. Our emergency room, because it was pediatric, was the opposite.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
So it was kind of unusual and kind of counterintuitive, but we were, if anything, I had extra time to garden last spring, and it was, although obviously it was a national tragedy. I would rather not have COVID and not have time to garden.
Right. Wow.
Well, that's good you didn't have as many patients, because that means the kids weren't getting hurt as much, and also they weren't, doing a lot of activities because they were, isolated indoors or just playing with their immediate families. So they probably didn't get injured as much, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
But
good
I think about the hospital not having, patients, especially pediatric patients.
Yeah, we
Wow.
did not have a flu season last year or an
Yeah.
RSV season.
All
Yeah.
right,
Wow.
just COVID. Well,
Mhm.
I'm glad you guys made it through and Tito didn't have too many issues with being in and homeschooling. And with that said, what did you all do? What did you do with him during this time? Did you all increase your activities? And then what's the most memorable moment that you've had with your son so far?
As far as increased activities during COVID
Yes.
well, we just got outside. I mean, we did that already, but we got outside, taking walks and going for runs, and he would help me in my garden. So we found things to do. It wasn't, I mean, we tend to be that way kind of as a family anyway. We kind of, we have dinner together every night unless one of us is working, and we will kind of sit around and I'm not going to lie and say there's never any screens out, because there are, but we're still interacting.
Yeah.
We're all at least in the same room, and we're
Yeah.
interacting somewhat. I mean, I think that's probably how a lot of families, I mean, so we're all together.
Awesome. Awesome.
That's good. So with that being said, what is your favorite hobby or activity to share with Tito?
When he started ninth grade, so he just finished 10th grade. When he started ninth grade, he joined the cross country team. And I had been a distance runner up all during college and med school, and even after med school. And I still got out occasionally, but I hadn't really been that active with the running. So when he started cross country, it was an excuse for us to start running together. And so that's the one physical activity we do together outside. And we do other stuff. He goes some with me to like work out at the gym or whatever. And we go backpacking and hiking and that sort of thing. But the one thing we do consistently nowadays is run. In fact, we went this morning. We'll go take a run around the neighborhood in the morning.
Jeez, what time do you go? Because it's hot by.
It's stinking hot. No, we go when it's hot. I'm not a morning person. If I'm up at 6 a.m., it's because I worked the night before.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not yeah, Yolanda is more of a morning, early bird, but I'm more of a night owl.
Okay.
So if I get up at 7:30, that's early for me. So we usually go about 7:38, and it's like 80. These past few days it's been like in the 80s. I mean, so we have to drink a lot of pickle juice when we come home.
All right.
Inside joke.
Well,
Oh.
go ahead, Cheryl.
Oh, no, go ahead, BJ.
Okay. Well, I was just going to ask, it seems like you and Tito do a lot of things together. And I know I've seen you do those things together, some things together. And I know that he's in scouting. So when you think about all the things that you all do, what's the proudest moment so far as a father that you have when you think of your son, Tito?
There's so many. I know you can't even.
Yeah.
You can't even.
I mean, he has a
many,
lot
I
of
know.
little victories every day. I mean, when he does something, and I think this is probably true for any. I only have one son to base this off of, but I suspect you guys have neurotypical kids, so you can probably say it's the same way. But just get that when his little victories will just be him taking initiative and doing stuff on his own. Texting. I mean, the other day he texted his grandma and asked her to come over because I had worked overnight and I was sleeping, and Yolanda was at work, so he texted her and asked her to come keep him company. So it's little things like that. It's seeking out social opportunities. So he does sweet little things like that, and those are little victories for me. And for him, the proudest. One of the proudest things proudest moments I had, and it just made my heart almost swell and burst was we were at a couple of years ago. So he's in the Scouts, he's active in the Scouts, and there's the mecca of scouting is a place called Philmont. Philmont is a 250,000-acre ranch in New Mexico that was donated to the Scouts back in the 40s by Wade Phillips, who is, if you ever gone and bought gasoline at Phillips 66, that's Wade Phillips. So he had a gigantic ranch in New Mexico, and he donated it to the Scouts, and that's Philmont. And Philmont is it's every Scout tries to do that at least once. It's a backpacking trip that you do that usually somewhere between 7 and 10, 12 days of backpacking. And it's sort of set up like a summer camp that's spread over miles and miles and miles. So you'll do a 5 or 6 mile hike, and at the end of the hike, you'll be at a camp where there's activities. It can be, shooting targets, or it can be climbing, or it can be panning for gold. They have this different kind of historical recreated camps of gold mining town or a railroad town and that kind of thing. So there was one activity that was called spar pole climbing. And spar pole, think of a giant telephone pole that's 30 feet tall. 30 feet is heck of a tall. 30 feet that's a 3-story building. I mean, imagine standing on the edge of a 3-story building and looking down. It's super tall. So spar pole climbing, if you've ever seen the telephone linesmen where they have this big leather belt around their waist, and then they have these special things they attach to their boots that have spikes on them. Mm-hmm. And what they do is they lean back so there's tension on that belt, and then they climb with their feet. They stick those spikes into the wood and push up with their legs, and then that belt they have to throw backward to get some slack and put it higher up on the pole, and they keep going up the pole that way all the way up to the top. So we, as our scout troop, was doing that that evening after we had hiked 6 or 8 miles, and it was Tito's turn, and I was like, well, I'll be happy if he gets a couple feet, or if he even just gives it a try. I always want him to try things, and he's pretty good about trying stuff. He's a positive kid. So he gave it a try, and it takes a lot of coordination, because you have to, like as I was describing it, I mean, it's not nothing. I didn't try it because I don't have a lot of coordination, but I was anxious for him to try it, and he gave it a go, and he got about with a whole lot of coaching and explanation, and I have to, the guys at Philmont are just great. They were super patient, and with some coaching and so on, he got himself about 8 or 10 feet up, and he was kind of paused there for a few minutes because he had been making forward progress, and the guy that was coaching him asked him, Tito, is there something wrong? And Tito said, I have hyophobia. And I told him, Tito, don't just look at the pole or look up above you. Don't be looking down, and you won't have hyophobia. You won't have to worry about it. So he had made it about 8 or 10 feet up the pole. He proceeded to make it the other 30 feet up the pole.
Wow.
He
awesome.
rang the bell at the top of the pole and came all the way down. And
what?
All
right, Tito.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was just, I mean, I just got choked up. I mean, it was just,
Wow.
it was just so, I was so proud of him, because he persisted, despite, having some fear and the physical difficulty of it. He just did it. He just got into his head to do it, and he did it.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's the kind of kid he is. He's an amazing boy. He really is.
That is awesome.
It is.
That's an amazing story.
It's a moment to be proud of.
I'm sure our listeners were hanging off the edge of their seats like we were, wanting to hear, did he make it?
Yes.
That is an awesome story, and I'm so glad that he was able to accomplish that. And it sounds like you were very, very proud of him. So, what kind of advice do you have for fathers with special needs children?
That's, it's tough. It's they say there's a saying about children affected by autism that if you've met one child with autism, you've met one child with autism, meaning they each have their own challenges, and they're all very different. They're all individuals, and if you multiply that by 1,000,000, that's what you're talking about with special needs, because there's all different kinds of special needs, and it's hard. You can't give it. Every situation is different, and everybody's individual situation is different, not just the child themselves, but their parents and their family situation and their social situation. So I would say,
so it would depend on the situation.
yeah, but that's a cop-out answer. But if I had to go back and tell myself taking care of 3-year-old Tito, I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, I would say it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Don't think you have to be up 24 hours, every day, researching what's the best thing and how do I do this, and making yourself sick with worry. I mean, enjoy your child.
Wow.
We knew by that point, I think, that that Tito was gonna be it. So I always tried to be mindful. I always tried to enjoy him, even and I lose my patience as much as the next person. So I wasn't always super enjoyable, but I tried to be mindful about he's only ever going to be this age, and never again. I'm only going to have to be able to walk him to school for a certain number of days and so on. So it's a marathon, not a sprint. And so that would be the start of it. I would also say, take care of hopefully you're in a relationship, that you're not alone taking care of your special needs child. Hopefully you have a partner with you in that relationship helping, and you have to take care of that relationship, because if you focus solely on the child and neglect each other, that child does not have a chance. It's just so much harder. I believe. I only have my situation, but I believe it has to be. I cannot imagine trying to raise him by myself. So I think you have to take care of your relationship with the other parent, if you're fortunate enough to have another parent there, and take time out for your relationship, because if you do not, that child is going to be much worse than the 2 hours that you spend going and taking a walk or going out to eat or whatever. That you don't have to spend every second with that child. That child needs two parents if they can get them, and you need to take care of that relationship. And by the same token, by the same token, I would say take care of yourself. Take mental health breaks, get whatever you need to do. Take time to exercise, or take time to go do things you like, or visit with friends. Take mental health breaks, because you cannot be in a good mindset to take care of your child if you are not emotionally adjusted somewhat, and you're just going to end up being resentful. This child, whether you admit it or not, people will say, no, I could never be resentful. I love my baby so much, and I could never. But you may not admit it to yourself in your consciousness, but in your unconscious, you're going to be resentful that you're not, that you don't have a life, because you've spent 24/7, 365 taking care of this child with special needs.
So I heard a lot in that, and that is definitely self-care. Make sure you're taking care of yourself, especially mentally. And then also staying healthy, having a healthy relationship. with the other parent, because if you all are not having a healthy relationship, you can't pass that on to your child. So that is awesome. That was pretty profound to hear that. And then, like you said, not spending every waking moment trying to figure out exactly everything that you need to do for that child, and give that child some space to grow. And then also, you know, you learn as you go with the process and not just overthink it. So that is awesome. That's some wonderful advice, even for parents that are raising children that aren't special needs. I love that advice for myself, and then I will be passing it on to others as I do premarital counseling.
And I'm taking it on as a grandparent, you guys. That was great advice.
Yes, it
Believe
was.
me, with a grandparent in the house, with a child in the house with you, you still have to take care of that relationship. So thank you, Dr. David. You reminded me. We need it.
Amen. So I think you answered this one, but I'm going to give you a chance to answer it in a different way. It might be concerning you as a father, as a parent, or it might just be concerning you as just an individual. What advice would you give your younger self?
Yeah, I mean, just be patient with yourself, and don't feel, I mean, your patience will grow. I mean, as a parent, I mean, again, I think this is a neurotypical thing as well, that don't beat yourself up when you do lose your patience, but try to learn from it. And to my younger self in particular, I would say, it was hard. You know, children affected by autism, they're usually on the same pathway as other children, because the nature of, I mean, infants are all developed the same. And then, you know, as they start to develop language, as you know, toddlers and pre-K, and start to play more socially, then the difference becomes apparent. And that's when you start to, you know, there were groups of other parents that all our kids would play together. And then as it became apparent that Tito was not kind of on the same page developmentally as the other kids, it's hard it's hard to be gracious, and you see these other kids, you know, jabbering and playing together and so on. Your child is doing one thing, these other children are doing something else, and it's hard to not feel resentment in your heart, because your child is different. And that sounds horrible. It sounds like it's a horrible, but
it's real.
That's
Yeah.
real. That's
So
reality.
you to a certain extent, you can kind of push people away. You know, even they don't know, but you know, you've been in I mean, I've been in the situation where I want to offer help to people, but they'll push you away, and I think I did a certain amount of that. I mean, I think people were very kind and were more gracious with me than I was with them. And I was never ugly to anyone, but I just felt like I felt like maybe other people didn't understand, and I didn't take advantage of those social relationships as much. And I, you know, I think that's probably true with anything in your life where something's going different from everybody else, you know, your social, whatever it might be. And you can kind of either push people away or embrace them. And I would say, embrace people, accept help. And, you know, people aren't gonna, it's like when you're grieving about something, you've lost someone. People aren't, they say, oh, I know how you feel. No, you don't know how I feel, but they don't say that. I'm just saying for those people, what they're doing is they're extending a hand. They don't know how you feel, but they want to, they feel for you. They feel terrible for you, or they feel like you look lonely, or whatever. And they want to help. And so maybe they don't know the best way to reach out and help, but they are extending a hand. And I would say, don't push people away. Let people, keep people close to you. I'm sorry. I totally
Oh, that was wonderful. And there's so many people that need to hear that. So I'm glad that you were open enough and transparent enough with us to share that. Because this is what we do on this podcast, is real talk for real people.
About real issues. Yeah.
Yep.
So you're only human, and you'll always only be only human. So, we all go through different things at different levels and different stages in our life. And, I just applaud you for sticking to it. I mean, like you said, you have a wonderful partner. Your wife is awesome. And I've seen you both interact with him, and, at church, and he's just what you guys are teaching him, and it's all good. It's all good.
Yes, it is.
I feel like I hit the jackpot. I mean, I really do. I know I do. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, my wife and my son are the two most amazing people, and I don't think, I don't know, a mistake happened somewhere along the line for me to end up with them, but I'm just so fortunate, so lucky. I mean, I know people look at me and look at my wife and think, what the heck does he bring to the table?
They don't take that.
I mean, my wife is an amazing person, and she's an amazing mother. And like, I mean, my son was born wonderful, but anything else that's been added has all been her. I mean, she's just the best mother, and she's and I mean, this comes from a loving place, but as far as he is concerned, she is a pit bull. She will not. If there's something he needs, she will get it for him, and she will not let go.
That is true.
She's just a wonderful, wonderful mother.
That's awesome. So that you're just making me smile. I can't stop smiling because yes, she is wonderful. I'd like to ask you, and I ask this of all of our guests, what did you want to be when you grew up? When you were a young child, what did you dream about being? Was it a doctor? No.
I didn't. I think when I was a little, I probably wanted to be an astronaut or whatever, or a fire, probably an astronaut, I'm thinking. But as I got through farther along in school, I realized I wasn't really that good at math. So I think, and my thoughts were that you probably had to be pretty good at math to be an astronaut. And I didn't really, I grew up around medicine. My dad was a doctor, and I had a sister that was a nurse. So, okay. And then I didn't really have any ideas about being a doctor really until college, and I was realizing I wasn't really gonna be able to pay the rent with a psychology degree. And
hey, that was my major.
then you know.
Yeah.
Or with a BA anyway. And I just looked at the people that are doing pre-med, and it's like, if they can do it, so can I, even though I'm not good at math. And so I just kind of, beat my head against all the pre-med stuff, the calculus and the organic chemistry and all that stuff, and just got through it. And because I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to help people. I wanted to do something where I would always have a job and where I could help people. Wow.
That's a testimony. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is.
So it wasn't, I think Yolanda probably she wanted always to be a doctor, I think, since she was little. But for me, it wasn't. It was a kind of a stumble into it as a.
Well, you stumbled real well.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, you are a pillar in this community, and I just want to say thank you for your service to the community, to especially to our children. I've heard a lot of good things about you, and I know it's all true.
Yes.
Well, listen, I would like to say that it has been a joy having you at the island, having you share with our audience. I know that you're going to, what you've said is going to make a difference in at least one person's life, because everything I've learned, you've given us some life lessons at the island. Don't you guys think?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes, definitely.
Sure.
So, go ahead.
Well, yeah, again, I was really touched and honored that y'all invited me on. And maybe I gave somebody something to take away, but I don't.
No, I've taken away something already.
Yes, me too.
Yes. So, I also want to give a shout out to your son, because his birthday is going to be on June 30th, and he's going to be
That's right.
17. I can't believe it. When I met him, he was 5.5 years old.
He's a chubby little boy. Yeah.
Yes, he was tiny and he was cute. And when
Well, he's still cute. He's handsome now.
he is
Yes, he
very
is.
handsome, and he's very, how tall is he now, David?
He's coming up. He's about 5'10". So he's getting up there.
Yes.
Yeah, he's gonna be tall.
He's
like
stretched out.
40.
And he's really stretched out.
Yeah, yeah.
That's-
So, but yeah, when I met him, he was little, but he was mighty. But I tell you one thing, you were talking about your wife earlier, about her being a pit bull. All I had to say to him was, Tito, you don't want me to call your mom, and he would almost salute me. Like, yes, ma'am. No way, don't call her. Yeah, so again, thank you for coming to the island. It's been a joy for me. The other ladies are smiling uncontrollably.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I want to say happy Father's Day to you. Awesome dad, super dad, Dr. David Newby.
Yes, yes. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm very proud of you. I'm glad that I can call you a friend and your family, and we love you. We really do.
And the same from here. The same goes for me.
Awesome. So until you listen, we will be in touch.
All right.
Thank you, Dr. David.
We'll
Stay
see y'all
safe.
on Sunday.
Thank you. See you on
Yeah.
Sunday.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, Bella. David, you good? You can stay on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how did it go? How did you feel?
I mean, it went better than I thought. I don't know how. I was the one doing the talking, so I don't know how.
Go ahead. To all of our listeners, this is Cheryl, and I just kind of wanted to touch on those people that grew up without fathers. I was one of them. My father died when I was only 4 weeks old, and I didn't have him there to love me, to protect me, to do all those wonderful things that the relationship between a father-daughter that I've seen in many of my friends, including BJ. I had a wonderful father-daughter relationship with her father. For those of you who did not grow up with fathers, I have 2 scriptures that I want to read for you, and that is Psalm 68:5, which says, "A father to the fatherless, a defender of widows is God in his holy dwelling." And then the Deuteronomy 10:18, "I defend the cause of the fatherless and the widow and love the alien, giving him food and clothing." What God is saying here is that he is your father. Even when you did not or you do not have access to your father, he is your father. He was watching over me when I didn't even know he was watching over me. He kept me from danger seen and unseen. And trust me, I had many situations where I was in serious danger and sometimes, pain inflicted on me. But what God had to show me was his unconditional love. And in that showing me his unconditional love, he in my heart, spoke to my heart and said, don't treat me as the other people that attempted to be a father to you in your life. Don't predicate your relationship with me how you had a relationship with them, which was not great. So all I want to say to you is that God is your heavenly Father, and He is going to constantly look out for you, no matter what happened in your past, no matter not having a father there. He said, I am the father to the fatherless. I hope that helps someone. God bless.